All right, so now we have finished our crumb coat and it has sat in the refrigerator for about a half hour, and our cake right here at the table is nice and firm. I'm gonna take my offset spatula and I'm gonna carefully slip it underneath the cake, lift it up. I'm gonna put my fingers underneath to help grab it and lift it up, okay? And then we're gonna land this back onto, again, our turntable. I have my little safety stopper there so that the cake doesn't fly. I'm gonna land it very carefully again. And I'm going to make sure that I am evenly placed and centered on the turntable, which I'm gonna shift it just a little second, but no, it looks good to me. All right, and then I have here the tools that I'll need to finish this job. The mise en place is gonna be, again, my baby offset, my straight icing spatula, my large offset spatula to do the landing of the airplane, as well as transfer the final cake onto its finalized cake board. Down underneath me, I have what I'm gonna be putting the finished cake on top of, all right? And of course, last but not least, I do have my clean, white, and beautiful icing, all right? Again, this is Italian Meringue Buttercream, and it's, I say, one of the most fabulous icings that you can make. At least that's what I feel. And I'm just gonna sit here and paddle it a little bit. And paddling is gonna allow to, if you can see, remove some of those air bubbles. And when you're putting on your final coat, you don't want those air bubbles. Those are what takes away from that beautiful straight, clean edge, smooth sides. So to get rid of those air bubbles is you just paddle it back and forth a little bit, okay? It'll help get it, help you get some of those air bubbles right out. All right. All right, so let's get started. All right, gonna be the same kind of thing. So versus we're not filling or doing anything like that, we're gonna put a large pile on top. We're gonna work back and forth, spreading it. We're gonna get the beautiful overhang on all sides of the cake so that we can create, when we put the icing on our sides, create our fortress, which will allow it to connect and then build up, which is then allow us to take our offset and land the airplane so that we create our nice 90-degree flat edge. All right, so very excited about that. So I'm gonna do a little bit minimal talking and more just going with the flow so you can see how I am working with that, but I will talk a little bit when I am applying the icing on the sides. Our goal here is gonna be about, since it was a very thin crumb coat, a 1/4 inch of icing on the top and the sides, okay? So again, I'm going to take my nice smooth icing and put a good amount on the top, on the center. Again, if it's not enough, we can always add more. Taking my offset, I'm gonna work from the center down, again, spreading it, trying to keep it nice and even and flat. All right, and moving the icing where I need it. And again, we want a 1/4 inch on top, and then we also want to get it to hang over the cake sides. Getting close to the edge, trying to keep it, again, nice and even. Clean off my offset a little bit. So now I'm gonna push it to make sure it hangs over the sides. And I'm gonna get down to the cake level so I can see is my top flat, level. because remember, this is, at this point, there will be some, I will do a small little demo of piping, but this is gonna be the top of the cake, the final icing. Clean off my palette knife a little bit. Go around one more time, smooth it out. It's also going to get pulled when we do the 90-degree flat edge, so this is not the last time we're going to be working on the top. All right, I've got overhang everywhere. I'm happy. I'm going to clean my offset and put that off to the side. Now I'm going to go to my straight icing spatula. Again, before I go to that, I'm going to take my buttercream, clean up my bowl a little bit, paddle it, move it around again as it sits to get some of those air bubbles out. As you saw, potentially when I was icing, some of those air bubbles that will go away after you keep smoothing over it. But this helps, get some of those air bubbles out, and I think you could probably see them popping. You can see the air bubbles in the icing. So as if I was smoothing it, you can see them popping through here. All right, so I'm gonna make this a nice pile so that I can pick it up with my straight icing spatula. Again, I use the 1/4 to no more than a 1/2 inch top, or maybe you would even call that an inch, part of my icing spatula, where I will put the icing and then I move it back and forth, and you'll see me working very small and slow. If I apply it, and you can kind of see with the overhang, there's about a 1/4 inch overhang. So literally I want to put that amount of icing on there so I do get that 1/4 inch on the top and on the sides. All right, so again, picking up my icing, it's not going to fall, and then I'm going to turn my arm around, and it's going to be, I work either from the bottom up and bringing my icing closer and applying it, going in back and forth kind of motions, and trying to keep it as smooth as possible. You're going to see me working it very carefully around. And with this being a chocolate cake, you don't want any of the cake to see through. Applying, shifting it carefully, moving it. And you can kind of see the edges starting to come about. We're almost there. On a 10-inch cake, it takes a little bit of time, but just imagine if you're doing a 6-inch, which is much smaller, an 8-inch is average. And then when you start getting into wedding cakes or specialty cakes, the largest base that I've ever done is about a 18-inch cake base, and that does take a little time to ice. Here. as you can see, I have the icing around, and I've already kind of set myself up for straight sides, flat edge. So I'm gonna clean my spatula. I just use it in a clean hand towel. Now I'm gonna take it and I'm going to try to smooth out my sides, see if my icing application is even. Do I need to add more icing? Lines will tell me different things. So I'm gonna go ahead and start applying some pressure. Let's see what we got. All right. I'm holding my icing spatula in a straight edge. I'm putting just this blade up against the icing, barely touching it. And before I do that, what we're looking for, my eyes, when I'm looking, I will be getting down. I will be looking at this blade against the actual cake, okay? And you do not want to see any light of day. If you see light of day and you can see between this spatula and the cake, that means your icing is not even, which means if you can see up here, all right, that means that it's thicker icing down here. You have to add more here, all right? And that will also show a line on the cake, and if it happens, I will show that to you, but it wants to be no daylight showing when I am turning the table and smoothing this out to be nice and straight, all right? So here we go. You can see I did remove some. All right, cleaning it off. I'm going to take a look and see. All right, not a too bad of a job in terms of evenness. What I'm also going to do now is I'm going to take my large offset and I'm going to clean up the base of the cake. I'm going to hold this at a light angle. I'm going to clean up this edge so I can kind of see and pull any of the excess down here. Clean all this off. So I can see where the cake is, how much icing is on here, and just pull the excess off. All right, so now I have a nice clean edge. I'm gonna go back around and see what I need to do. All right, you can see I'm starting to take too much of the icing off. As you can see, which is good, there's an air bubble hole there. But you can see, I'm starting to see the cake through here, so which means I'm gonna apply a little bit more icing there. And then, let's see, so if you can see these lines right here. So the icing is coming up here, telling me that I'm thicker icing down here, and I need to apply a little bit more icing, and that line will go away. That means I'm seeing the light of day up here and not down here. So I'm going to add a little bit more. Again, not a lot. Just gonna only add it where I need it. Even cover the air, the bubbles. Okay. I'm gonna probably apply some where you can see a little bit of the cake as well. Actually, it's looking pretty good. I'm gonna go around, I believe, one more time to clean it up, and then we're gonna land our airplane. I am going to go with this. I feel comfortable. I'm going to clean up my edge on the bottom. All right. because I know I'm gonna put garnish decorations on it. So now I'm gonna land my airplane, okay? So you can see I've got my little fortress built. So I'm gonna go holding my offset large spatula at a slight 45-degree angle. Okay, I'm aware of my hands as well, because I've seen a lot of times people come in and land their hand into the cake as well. So I'm only working a small amount, portion of the cake at a time, turning it and moving it, okay? Again, so we're gonna go from the top down and pull. We're not gonna go down and up, because that's, again, that will create a round edge. We do not want that. We wanna go come down, land, pull, all right? So I'm gonna be quiet when I do this so I can concentrate myself. And then clean your offset. I wipe mine down every time so that I have a nice clean edge. Every time I clean it off. Okay, all right, so that is nice flat top, straight, sharp 90-degree edges. I'm gonna take my baby offset and go around. As you can see, the icing around the bottoms, I'm gonna clean this up very carefully, have a nice kind of a slight angle, just to make sure that when I pick the cake up, that I am not gonna have a mess with icing when I'm gonna land it on my clean board. Then I'm gonna put on just a few basic garnishes for you guys. All right, so I'm gonna move my icing to the bottom table. I'm going to take my clean board, put it down, all right? I'm gonna take my large cleaned offset. I'm gonna stick it underneath. And don't forget, there is that little sticky bottom down there. So you gotta lift it just enough so that you leave the sticky bottom down there. You put your hand underneath, grab the cake, right? Working with the spatula, then you're going to land it, right, onto your pretty board and check to make sure it's nice, even around. Move it if you need to. All right, it's nice and around evenly. And I'm gonna carefully pull my spatula, and I'm gonna put pressure down, because one thing that I have seen is when you pull too quick and you're not paying attention, the palette knife will backfire into the cake. So you wanna hold it and put the pressure and keep it down so that it doesn't bounce right back up into the cake. And trust me, I've done that 1 or 2 times and I've learned it. So here we have a perfectly iced 10-inch cake that now I will get ready to do a piping bag, and we'll pipe some borders for you. All right, so we're gonna do a little quick segment on how to fill a piping bag for the cake. We're gonna pipe a simple shell border on it, but I wanted to do how to fill a piping bag professionally, cleanly. So what you need is, of course, you can use the reusable plastic piping bags, but this is actually just a plastic that is a one-time use. So again, you will have it, and you're going to open it up, put it around behind itself, kind of open it up, okay? So you have it backing around itself. Here is going to be the tip of my choice to use for the shell border. I'm going to stick it into the piping bag. I'm going to see where it falls, because I want to make sure that all of the shell is exposed when I cut the plastic tip off. I have a pair of scissors, which should be in every single chef case, as well as a pastry knife kit. Moving my piece of tip off to the side or into the garbage, because this will become a physical contaminant that could end up in something that your customers could eat. So we want to make sure that we throw this away, that it doesn't become in anyone's icing. So you can see I'm going to squeeze the tip forward and it fits perfectly. I have it fully exposed, the tip where the icing is going to come out of, all right? And then I'm going to twist the piping bag and I'm going to place it inside of itself. So anything that I fill, it's not going to run through. The icing is stiff enough that it shouldn't fall through, but it's a good habit to get into depending if you're piping mousse or a soft cream, that it won't just fall out of the bag. So I do it for every single thing that I pipe. It's just a habit that has formed, and again, it is a good habit. So when you're working efficiently and cleanly, and you want to make sure that you're not can get all of your product into your actual piping bag, you can get some sort of, this is a measuring cup that I'm going to fit the piping bag into it. I'm going to put it cleanly over the edges, so it makes it a nice holder, so that I can very cleanly and easily put my buttercream that you see here into the piping bag without getting a mess and getting icing all over the sides where you're going to have your hands, okay? One quick rule that I like to teach about and talk about for piping, and again, depending upon what you're working on, it is good to work with small amounts because you have to apply pressure and squeezing, and if you're trying to squeeze from a piping bag that's this full, you really have no control over what you're doing. So you fill as you need it, and you can always add more, okay? And something also to think about, we're using Italian meringue buttercream. Again, keyword is butter, and butter has a melting point of about 93 to 95 degrees. And depending upon you, I have warm hands. So the warmth of your hand around all of that buttercream can potentially, guess what? That's right, melt it, okay? So working with small amounts, adding fresh buttercream, to me is the best way to go. You're able to pipe the decoration that you want with full control, and you're not damaging your medium at the end. So I'm gonna take my spatula and I'm gonna put in my buttercream. As you can see, very easily falls right into it, okay? I have it all in where it needs to go, and I'm gonna have clean sides, clean back, all right? So now I'm gonna take my hands, I'm gonna lift the sides back up carefully. It was a tight fit, okay? I'm gonna slowly put the ends together, okay? I'm gonna pull this out. As you can see, nice tight ball, all right? And I'm going to pull my tip, and it's gonna work to my capability. So you can see, I'm gonna squeeze until I see it starting to come out. I'm gonna get my bowl so I can carefully pipe, and there you go, all right? So there you have it. So now we have a piping bag that is ready to go to ice on top of the cake, any type of garnishes. To complete the decoration for our cake, I have my tools here, my cake, my turntable. I have a pastry bag filled with the buttercream, and then I also have my star tip that I'm gonna do a shell border. And you might think I'm gonna put my cake up onto my elevated cake stand, and I would do that for when I'm doing the bottom border for the shell, but I'm gonna do a top border, and I'm gonna bring it down to where I can see and lean over and see it. So I'm gonna put this back down. Again, working to your advantage, okay? I'm gonna take my cake, it's on the nice final board. I can actually take this sticky preventative off because the cake is now full, it's heavy, and has the weight that it's not gonna fly off of the cake stand. The cake turntable, but you could also leave it if you wanted to, totally up to you. So what I'm gonna do for a top garnish is I'm going to do just a simple shell at the top and shell at the bottom, okay? Again, with piping, it's all about pressure and learning your hands, your strength, as well as how the tip works, the size of the tip, what you're looking for. So again, I'm just gonna pipe a simple shell border at the top around the edge, and then I'm gonna do it at the base to complete it, okay? Going right on the edge, all right? And I'm gonna go push down, pull, down, pull, down, pull. I'm gonna clean this off, Cool. Ooh, a little too much there. See, pull the shell up, release. Trying to keep it as consistent as possible. And I'm going to try to complete the end here. And I'll throw one little eye right there. All right, so there is a shell border on the top. And now, since I'm gonna pipe a bottom border, versus me working the bottom border first at the top, you always wanna do your garnishes and decorations from the inside out. So I wouldn't wanna do the bottom border and then lean over the top and try to do anything. But since I'm gonna be working on the bottom, I'm going to bring this back one more time. Again, grabbing from the base and holding on to the cake turntable, because remember, it is two pieces that separate. So very carefully lifting it, and don't forget, the cake is definitely heavier now. All right, put this to my advantage, okay? All right, so I'm not leaning, hurting myself, and I'm gonna go right on to the side of the cake and pipe the exact same shell border, go in the same direction versus going in the reverse direction, all right? So here we go. Cleaning the tip off. So I'm actually piping half on the cake and half on the board, if you can kind of see. So that it's finishing the edge. Whoop! Uh-oh. Got a little boo-boo myself. It's okay, we can fix it. And then there you go. And there you have it. A double shell bordered 10-inch ice cake. As we bring this series to a close, I hope that you all enjoyed learning how to construct a cake from the steps of mise en place all the way to piping decorations. It's a fun process when you learn how to do it correctly. As you can see here is our beautiful finished cake. We have a 3-layered cake filled with thyme ring buttercream icing, ice straight sides, flat top, nice 90-degree angle, and then as well as you can see here, just the simple and classic shell border. It never fails. So I hope that you all enjoyed learning how to do this, the proper steps of how to make it done. It is a timely process. And then as you can see here, all the beautiful tools that you will eventually learn to explore and see what fits best in your hands and makes the magic happen. This series was made possible from the South Carolina Restaurant and Lodging Association, as well as Ecolab. With their support, we were able to bring this fun and educational series for you. I hope that you learned something from it. I wish I could cut and provide a slice of this to you, but we'll save that till next time. So please enjoy baking and take care.